me talking to you. Goodness, this man. It's amazing. When do you ever get a chance to sit down with former Chief Justice of Kenya, Dr. Willy Mutunga? It's been way overdue, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming on this day after Mashujaa Day. By the way, I saw on your you're very active on social media. So I saw on your Twitter trend, I think it was Governor Kivutha Kibwana yesterday, who said on Mashujaa Day, why can't we honor people like Dedan Kimathi, whose remains we still don't know where they are? Yeah, but he's saying that he could be buried symbolically. Symbolically. That's what correct. That he was saying. Yeah. But I always think that the British government knows where the remains are. Of course they do. And the Kenyan government as well. Yeah. In the 60s, I can understand why it was difficult to have that burial, because you see there was these forces that thought the Mau Mau will come back, and the British also, in my view, had this fear that if they had Kimathi's shrine in a particular place, it could be the mobilizing site, you know, for further struggles and so forth. Yeah. So I remember when I was at Kenya Human Rights Commission, we did a lot of work trying to find out where the remains were. Yeah. But there are a lot of people who say, oh, he was buried in committee, and they'll go and show us the spot, and you know, it was been very difficult. Okay. The day he was hung, right? February 18th, I think it was, right? 1957? Is that? Yeah, at 6 a.m. Good Lord. And the documentation that has been published, the trial of Dedan Kimathi and the hanging and the doctor, the name of the doctor was there, the superintendent of the police, you know, all that information is there. But was he buried in committee? Or I guess that's what Kibwana was saying. Traditionally, people do disappear, they drown, or they are eaten by the animals. And our traditions actually have a way of burying the disappeared. Symbolically, yes. Look, UB40 wrote a song. They sang a song called Sins of the Fathers. Right? Or Visited from Old. Who are those? You be what? They're your generation, Dr. They're crazy. But is this the sins of the fathers? Is that what we're seeing here? Because unless we can, you know, be in touch with our past and acknowledge our past misdeeds or whatever you want to call them, we can't move forward as a nation. Let's face it. Yeah, I guess that's why we had the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. There are those historical injustices that have to be dealt with. The Constitution, as you know, has dealt with some of them, particularly the issue of land, that foreigners cannot have freehold titles. You know, that is 99 years lease. There's a provisions about community land. Though there's community land that is registered, there is the other community lands that are not registered, where the people like pastoralists can say we want to, you know, keep our grazing areas and our watering holes as, you know, as a collective or community owned. But, but there's a lot of ghosts from the past that we have not. Well, I guess we haven't reconciled, or, you know, they're still out there, huh? We need to exorcise those ghosts. Yeah, like in your community, for example. Ours? Yes, that's a Kikuyu community. I still, you know, talking to a lot of people whose families during the Mau Mau were involved in the opposite sides. Okay? People still remember, you know, people still remember the atrocities and what happened and so forth. And there are people who personalize, you know, those issues, you know. 60 years later almost. Yeah. Right? Yeah, but I think, you know,
is something that the nation could discuss.
And then
if the BBI said that we were going to have this national conference, those are some of those goals can be,
exercised. By the way, the BBI title is exactly appropriate to what you just said. It says from blood ties to a nation of ideals.
Okay.
Can we become that nation of ideals when we talk about hustler politics or dynasty politics? Where are the ideals?
Well, you know, if you look at that narrative, okay, and the narrative is coming from the same class, same elite, the way I see it is just destruction. Okay, so it's destruction where they occupy this space where, leadership can only come from those alliances. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised maybe in a year or so before 2022 the 5 barons or more will come together. It has happened. Yeah, there could be other handshakes. Okay, but I agree with you that the vision of the Constitution is diversity and building a nation, and completely banning politics of division, because they are harmful, very, 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 very harmful. You can't organize, politics around ethnicity, around religion, gender, generation, class, clan. You won't deal with the issues, and that kind of politics always results in conflict, serious conflict.
But CJ, we haven't learned from 07, 08, we haven't learned from 13, 12 years ago that we could go back down that road?
The leadership hasn't learned, but I'm sure, the ordinary people, all of us, the middle classes and so forth, we are horrified. Because I see it. I see these drums of war being hit, right? So 2008 happened just like that. And it's again these ghosts that haven't been exercised, all right? And then somebody basically says, this is what we have to do. It's something that the people of this country have to, to deal with.
Yeah, and yet when you talk about the middle class yourself, Dr. our middle class, for lack of a better word, is so complacent. We are just happy in our little circle where we can go from our house to the shopping center to the school to the this to the that. We're so complacent that what happens over there we don't really care. Yeah, that's how it is.
I think that's a fair criticism. You even see it in. I live in an apartment, and we have, a company that is supposed to take care of things and so forth. And we actually sometimes meet when there's been a theft in the place or when there's a water problem. And I think there are reasons why the middle classes should, get involved. We are dealing with leaders who are very, very, very good. Don't ever underestimate them. I tell people they are geniuses in what they do. They eat with profit,
and yet you choose what's there now. What is wrong with that? What's wrong with this picture?
I think my view is that we don't have what I call alternative political leadership. It's not there. It's not concrete. So the barons or the elites have controlled the narratives, and you have to choose from the candidates that they give people, and the ordinary people. Although people say the ordinary people are just want money and wants the narratives, and you have to choose from, the candidates that they give people. And the ordinary people, although people say the ordinary people are just want money, and once they get money, they will vote, for particular people. But my view is that they vote that way because they don't see an alternative. They don't see an alternative. I have a cousin who, whenever there are elections in Kitui, he is a very good songwriter, and he has a great voice. So he makes sure that he gets the T-shirts of all the candidates, and he has a song. So he gets money from this group.
Yeah.
That group leaves, he changes the T-shirt and changes the name of the candidate.
Yeah.
And then once I asked him, why do you do this? It's terrible. And he said, which was very insightful, he said, I don't see any of these people doing anything for me after the elections. They won't. So just this is the time for me just to trick them also, And he said he felt very well, when he did it.
Come election time.
Yeah. So these people you're mentioning, Mukisa Kitui, and others, and even people of your generation and the generation after you, they have to realize that this narrative took 57 years to be consolidated. So dismantling it might take 3 decades. Okay? So you find a lot of people who just say there's going to be a wave, things are going to change. No, it's hard work.
So
independence itself, we've struggled against the British, 68 years?
Yeah.
And we're still struggling against them. They haven't left.
No.
Okay? So even this narrative that has been crafted, and it works. Okay? It works. It's unmitigated to dislodge the narrative of Professor the prophet.
Oduor.
Yes. It's not easy.
Oduor.
Because I don't know how long he has taken to have that kind of following.
So you're saying you and I will be long gone before anything gets done here? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not that pessimistic. I still think that what I see and what history teaches us is that whenever there is oppression, there's always resistance. Okay, and the two are kind of very healthy bedfellows. Fighting and resisting. And the history of Kenya is about people just resisting and having certain gains. Okay, I've watched that since the 70s, and I don't agree with the people who say we haven't made any progress. No, the Khan Moi dictatorship was something else. Okay, we have a constitution, which in my view is the third liberation, if you want to call it that. Implementation is the fourth. And after that, the weaknesses that are there, whether it's issues of land that have to be discussed, they are not settled. You get a political leadership that goes into those issues, and a political leadership that shuns politics of revenge and vindictiveness.
So when the president calls this a constitutional moment today, BBI going forward, what are your thoughts, CJ?
Yeah, you're still taking me to BBI. He said it's a constitutional
moment.
Well, the constitutional moment really was on 27th August 2010, when Kibaki promulgated the constitution. That was when the third liberation started. Okay? So, if the president is saying that, if he's telling us that he hasn't done much to implement the constitution, then he can call it that and basically, say, I haven't done it and I'm going to try, this way. But I still think that BBI would have been great if we went through the national conference issue. You know, we talk about these reports, public lands and whatnot. And this country is very religious. The consensus will be found. Yeah.
But look, COVID happened, and then can't have public rallies. Well, unless you're campaigning, but that's another story. But it's different now. It might be passed through Parliament. It might be passed, because there's a majority.
Yeah,
convenience.
I'm trying. What I'll be looking at is the bills, because they will tell you what should go to Parliament, what should go for referendum. Okay, because if you're changing the whole structure of Parliament, for example, it could offend some provisions in the Constitution, and therefore call for a referendum. So I think that the debate will be looking at those amendments and seeing whether it's Parliament that's going to do it or...
Speaking of Parliament, CJ, should Parliament be dissolved, go home, because they didn't meet the 2/3 agenda? Should they go home?
The Constitution is very clear, about that. And I was asked that question by the Rotarians the other day when I was talking to them. The same question you are asking. And my view was, the president must comply with the advisory, but people should not forget that the matters are in court. The advisory has been challenged. There is a bench that is going to hear this. And when there are cases in court, parties enter something called a consent order, okay, which settles it, okay. So you have the executive, the judiciary is involved, Parliament is involved, the citizens are involved in those particular cases. Yeah. If you recall, Judge Lenaula dealt with the issue of CDF and basically said it was unconstitutional, but said, gave them a year, to... Yeah,
but CJ, it's messy, yeah? It's messy.
Well,
it's unnecessary.
If there is that, what you called the political will, because the cases are in court, the citizens have the right to go to court and say, this advisory is not constitutional. Other people are saying it is, like the LSK. So there is a court that will hear it, all right? But when matters are in court, that's when mediation and dialogue begins, where somebody can basically say, Parliament has been dragging their feet for almost 9 years over this issue. They should be given 2 months to make sure that that legislation is in place.
Is that what you would do if you were still CJ? Would you do that?
No, that is not the law. I'm talking about a pragmatic way of the parties. If the parties agree, okay, because what does Parliament fear? Parliament fears that it will be disrupted. All right, a lot of people are talking about how expensive it is to run 2 elections, one now and another in 2022. All right.
But we had 2 elections in 2017. Remember?
Yeah. So
back to back.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there is a window of opportunity in those cases where the parties can start discussing and come up with a consent order. And I'm saying that consent order must commit Parliament to doing what it was told by the courts to do. It has to do that. If we are going to be seen to be respecting court orders and so forth. Yeah. Okay? And then the other thing that I told the Rotarian is there can be an agreement that the implementation is 2022 with the election. Okay? And the status quo continues. But that's I'm calling it a window opportunity, but I know when they go to court it will be conflictional. But there are solutions that can be.
It's just messy and unnecessary. All right, CJ, we're going to take a break right now. But, it's not often that I get a message from Mutahi Ngunyi, the professor from University of Fort Hall. He says, Jeff...
He's calling me names, I'm sure.
No. He says, Jeff, say hello to my friend Willy.
Tell him I have his book.
He says, you are a fine mind. Ask him whether the hustlers have a stream of consciousness or are they a chaotic aggregate, not a class. Ask him to talk about constitution making as bourgeois politics from your book. Bourgeois politics. Think about that. It takes you a minute to think. So, think about that. I can see you are digesting Mutahi Ngunyi's question. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. CJ, it's not so bad being on my bench, right? My bench is not that bad, huh?
It's not bad. But I'm sure you want me to come back. So which I will. Right?
Good point.
Consummate diplomat.
Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLive. JKLive takes a break. We'll be back with the CJ after the break.